Every morning, when you pick up your phone, put on your clothes, get into your car, you probably don't think about where these things come from. They come from one place, a country known as the factory of the world. But what you don't know is that factory of the world is no longer what you think it is. China produces over 4 trillion worth of manufactured goods every year. That's more than a quarter of global GDP. China's manufacturing value added accounts for 32% of the world total, roughly equal to all developed countries combined. It is the only country on Earth that has all 41 major industrial categories and 666 subcategories in the UN industrial classification. You might ask, why China? Why not India, Vietnam, Mexico? This documentary will take you inside the engine room of Chinese manufacturing, to see the factories that never sleep, the entrepreneurs who rose from nothing, the forces reshaping global industry, to see why China's manufacturing is so strong. Many people think of China as one country, but from a manufacturing perspective, China is actually a collection of 4 countries. Tier 1, the Eastern Coast, GDP per capita, PPP, has reached $58,000 international dollars, higher than Japan. Shenzhen, Shanghai, Suzhou, the densest high-end manufacturing cluster on Earth. Tier 2, Central China, about $41,000 international dollars, close to Malaysia. This region is absorbing manufacturing shifting from the coast. Tier 3, Western China, about $23,000 international dollars, comparable to Mexico and Thailand. Labor costs here remain competitive. Tier 4 are less developed areas, about $16,000 international dollars, on par with Vietnam and Indonesia. No other country has this internal gradient. China can compete with Germany in high-end equipment and with Vietnam in apparel simultaneously. When one country has 4 development tiers inside it, it stays competitive at every technological level and every price point. This part requires 0.05 millimeter precision. The client tried Vietnam. They couldn't do it. Southeast Asia can do assembly, but when it comes to core molds and precision components, they still come to us. Over the past few years, labor-intensive industries have indeed moved out of China, but look closer. What moved was often the final assembly step. The core, molds, key components, R&D centers remains firmly in China. People talk about de-Chinification, but the reality is more like go to China. Companies find that after leaving China, they become even more dependent on China because the product you assemble in Vietnam still has 70% of its components shipped from China. In 2018, the United States launched a trade war trying to move manufacturing out of China. 8 years later, China's global manufacturing share has risen from 28% to 32%. The net increase equals the combined manufacturing output of Japan and Germany. In 2025, China's goods trade surplus exceeded $1 trillion. That is the first time any country in human history has reached that number. Not by luck, not by subsidies, but by an industrial system with 4 gradients, full category coverage, and unprecedented scale. If you take apart a smartphone, you'll find over 1,000 components. Screen, chip, battery, case, camera, speaker, cables, each requires a specialized factory. In the Pearl River Delta, all of these components can be found within a 100-kilometer radius. This is not a coincidence. It is an ecosystem that has grown naturally over decades. When I develop a new product from drawing to prototype in Shenzhen, 1 week, in Europe, at least 3 months. Why? Because all the suppliers are right next to you. You change the design today, the mold is modified tomorrow. You won't find this speed anywhere else. Tesla's Shanghai factory took only 11 months from groundbreaking to production. In its first full year, it produced 300,000 vehicles. Elon Musk has repeatedly said at earnings calls, Shanghai has the highest efficiency of any Tesla factory in the world. An electric vehicle has roughly 20,000 components. In China, every one of those components has a domestic supplier. From battery to motor, from chips to screens, from screws to seats. China's new energy vehicle supply chain is the most complete in the world. You can build a complete EV in China without importing anything. No other country can do that. CATL, the world's largest EV battery maker with over 30% market share. Its factories are in Fujian, within 1 day's transport radius of the car plants in Shanghai and Guangzhou. That is the power of a complete supply chain. Supply chain experts have a metaphor. Chinese manufacturing is like a giant tree. The trunk is deeply rooted in China. The roots spread globally. Cut one branch, it grows back elsewhere. Add tariffs, the cost still lands on your consumers, because this tree is now deeply embedded in the global economy. Mathieu Stéphanie, director of the French documentary The Do-It-Yourself Generation, lived in China for many years. He sums up the biggest difference between China and Europe. In Europe, we spend 10 years discussing the perfect model: regulations, environmental impact, stakeholder interests. In China, they say, okay, let's do it now. And then a year later, the factory is built and products are coming out. In China, speed is not a choice, it is a habit. From decision to execution, there is almost no idle time. When the Chinese government decided to develop the NEV industry, policy, capital, and infrastructure moved simultaneously. Charging stations grew from hundreds of thousands to over 20 million. Subsidies, license plate incentives, tax breaks, a full package. China's policies aren't just talk, they're implemented, and not just the central government. Local governments compete to support you. Need land? Here. Need dedicated power lines? Done. Need talent? We'll connect you with universities. In 2025, China's industrial robot production grew by 28%. Chinese manufacturing is automating at a speed unprecedented in human history. For every 10,000 manufacturing workers in China, there are more than 400 industrial robots. In the most advanced lights-out factories, you can barely see a human. All production, inspection, and transport are done by machines and systems. The other side of China's speed is iteration speed. For a smartphone, from concept to mass production, 45 days is possible. Why fast? Because every supplier is in the same industrial park. Change a dimension today, mold is revised tomorrow. You can't keep up with this speed anywhere else. In traditional manufacturing, design to production might take 6 months. In China, that cycle has been compressed to weeks, sometimes days. That means Chinese companies can respond faster to market changes, launch products faster, and eliminate the laggards faster. The story of Chinese manufacturing is not just a story of data and technology, it is also a story of people. Her name is Wang Lichun. In 1988, she became one of Foxconn's first female workers in mainland China. She was 21. The factory often had no water or power. The dormitory leaked and smelled of mildew. Most of the women who started with her didn't last. But she stayed. While others rested, she stayed in the workshop, figuring out how to optimize processes. Late at night, after roommates had fallen asleep, she slipped back to her station to practice. Wang Lichun has a kind of relentless spirit. Her pursuit of quality was almost obsessive. Every detail, she wanted it perfect. 10 years later, Wang Lichun had risen from assembly line worker to section chief, the highest position a mainland employee could reach at Foxconn at that time. In 1999, she started her own business with her brother, starting with connectors and casings. Then she seized the opportunity with Apple's supply chain. She pushed the yield rate of AirPods to the top of the industry. Today, Luxshare is a global leader in precision manufacturing, with a market value in the hundreds of billions of yuan. From factory girl to entrepreneur, this is not an isolated case. Zhou Kunfei dropped out of school at 15. She followed her father from Hunan to Shenzhen. She worked as a polisher at a glass factory. The workshop was filled with dust. At the end of each day, her face and hair were coated in glass powder. But she didn't accept her fate, polishing glass during the day, studying accounting, customs, management at night in her cramped, rented room. Zhou Kunfei could endure hardship, and she could learn. She had to understand everything herself: technology, finance, production, management. She mastered it all step by step. In 1993, she started a small workshop with 20,000 Hong Kong dollars, starting with watch glass. Then she got an order from TCL, then Motorola, then Apple. Today, Lens Technology is one of the world's largest glass cover suppliers. Another story, his name is Zhang Shui. His parents divorced, he lived with his grandmother in a drafty mud house. No professional textbooks. He took engines apart and put them back together over and over until he could reassemble an engine blindfolded. At 19, desperate to appear on a TV show, he rode for 3 hours in a rainstorm to chase down the crew. Battered and bruised, no one knew his name, but deep inside, he had a dream to build a Chinese high-performance motorcycle and win an international championship. More than a decade later, he did it. His self-developed race bike won at an international top-tier motorcycle competition. The 5-star red flag rose over the track, from repair shop apprentice to world champion. Wang Laichun, Zhou Kunfei, Zhang Xue all came from the bottom. No prestigious degrees, no family wealth. What they had, relentless persistence. What they embody is the deepest, most real power behind Chinese manufacturing. In the Pearl River Delta, the Yangtze River Delta, in every industrial city in China, there are hundreds of millions of ordinary workers. They stand for more than 8 hours a day, repeating the same motion thousands of times. No one records their names, but it is the hands of these nameless workers that assemble more than half of the world's electronics and built the world's largest industrial system. In the past, people called China the factory of the world. Meaning, China does the assembly, others do the design. Today, that label is obsolete. In 2017, the C919 made its successful maiden flight. China's first mainline passenger jet developed to international airworthiness standards. Some said it was just an assembly job, engines and avionics imported. But the chief designer said this: integrating hundreds of thousands of parts, tens of thousands of kilometers of wiring, thousands of systems, making it fly safely, fly economically. That integration capability itself is the core technology. Singapore's Business Times, in an in-depth report, introduced a new concept. China is transforming from a consumer goods exporter into an industrial mother machine. What is an industrial mother machine? It is the machine that makes machines. It means exporting equipment, technology, components, even entire industrial capabilities. Today, Chinese companies are not just selling things to the world, they are building factories, production lines, and technical standards around the world. China is moving from being a follower to a standard setter. In NEV's 5G solar, China not only does it well, it's writing the rules. Those who define the standards own the world. From the first domestically produced car in 1956 to today, less than 70 years, China has gone from an agricultural country with almost no modern industry to the absolute center of global manufacturing. What is the future of Chinese manufacturing? Manned lunar missions, the C929, quantum computing, controlled nuclear fusion. These sound like science fiction, but 70 years ago, China making cars also sounded like science fiction. You might ask, why does China push so hard to develop manufacturing? The answer is simple, because manufacturing is the foundation of a decent life for a nation. 1.4 billion people need decent jobs, stable incomes, and pathways upward. Manufacturing provides all of that. It has brought hundreds of millions from rural villages into cities. It has enabled tens of millions of families to send their children to college. It has moved a nation from poverty to prosperity. Why is China's manufacturing so strong? Not because of cheap labor, not because of government subsidies, not because of copying. Those explanations are long outdated. It is because 1.4 billion people want a better life. It is because generation after generation has been willing to pour sweat, youth, and even life into that goal. It is because the world's largest industrial nation is writing, in its own way, the most ambitious industrialization story in human history. And that story is far from over.